Hey everyone! So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I believe the outcome of the hitbox changes is going to be. Obviously it's still early, so I can't predict anything. But I think the main question about them is about short-range weapons and how they're affected. Specifically, I'd say that right now it is very difficult to run multiple short-range weapons in the same composition. Double midline has been extremely popular and just generally stronger. And so, do these hitbox changes actually mess with that fact? Is double short range back? Is it possible to run that kind of composition? And while I talk about this, I figured it'd be fun to host the room that Moonlight is going to be in to scrim bet. And at the end of the video, we can see if Delta is the last person in the room again, because he has kind of a reputation for that. So, yeah, we'll show that at the end. But anyway, let's start this by talking a little bit about the changes. So, when it comes to short-range slaying options, what exactly are candidates that we can start seeing? Because, double painting weapons support, I don't really think is going to be something we'll be seeing a ton. So, what kind of weapons could be filling a fighting slot role? First up is 52. Obviously benefits from the hitbox change a good bit. 52 is a very powerful frontline weapon, but it has some things that are still holding it back, and the patch didn't really do much to change it. For one, the weapon, while very annoying, is still very selfish. It doesn't really coordinate much with teammates or have a whole lot of good comp synergies. And two, the main problem, honestly, Killer Whale 5.1 is just kind of one of the worst specials in the game. It also just isn't very great in too many scenarios. It's mostly used to get back 52's ink tank, which, yeah. I mean, 52 is a little better. I wouldn't be surprised to see it do something in the Western scene. But in terms of being an overall, amazing weapon to change the meta, I don't really see it doing too much here. So I don't think that's going to change very much. That's actually about it for all the short-range shooters, because most of them are support-based. For Roller, we have the Carbon Roller and Vanilla Roller, which have both been improved in this patch. Being able to shark with Ninja Squid, thanks to Aura, is a big buff for it. Roller is a little bit more ink efficient, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but a little bit less downtime is nice. So it's slightly stronger, and I think both of these benefit from the hitbox changes. They're both pretty short-range weapons, so they're a little bit more forgiving, especially Carbon. And this is a weapon that I could see working well with other similar comps if you want to run a short-range painting shooter and another midline. I mean, Moonlight did similar with Carbon when fighting against Fofofo in the NA League. But we haven't seen too much of Roller players, so we'll have to see. But I think that, on paper, Roland and Carbon both seem like very solid options, so that's nice. As for Chargers, not really anything short range here, so we're going to skip. Sloshers has Tri-Slosher, which is probably the first option on this list that I can say, yeah, it's going to have a staple. Apparently, the monthly challenge was won by this weapon, paired with, E-Liter Dread +1. So, similar E-Liter Tri-Slosher synergy. We already saw that before this update in an Area Cup in a very dominant run. And now it is just 10 points for special, cheaper for cooler. And Tri-Slosher is one of the main weapons that shuts other short-range weapons down. So when running something to deal with short-range weapons, this is already a very good threat. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Tri-Slosher is probably going to be in a good spot. Better than last patch. Mini is still mostly supportive, so we don't got much to talk about here. Everything else is mid-range. Dapple Doolies is pretty insane. This is probably going to be a subject of a main channel video on this weapon, because I firmly do believe it's in the top 10. It already had an argument for that pre-patch, with both the blue Dapple and red Dapple being able to get successful tournament results in the previous update. But they benefit a ton from the hitbox size change. I looked into it, and I mean, first off, look at this. I mean, this is just... yeah. This might be even a little too much, I want to say. This is extremely lenient to hitting shots on human form. Maybe even a little bit too much, and you can really see that here. These are, yeah, they're very powerful with that, and being able to get, consistent damage. So that's obviously there. Reef Slider, the changes have probably just buffed this weapon. Dapple doesn't really have enough special power-up or a combo to go for Zone Cheese, and now it's just better at killing, which is good for this weapon. The red Dapple kit is obviously still pretty good as well, and has already been thriving. Got more results with the bow comp recently. So both these weapons are already winning, and they're already kind of the main candidate for having a short-range Slayer in the comp. If you have a mid-range support like Vacuum 96 and probably Dynamo Roller now, it seems to be the main option. So yeah, pretty obvious candidate. Dualies are another one that benefit from the hitbox size change a bit. They're also a lot more lenient now, so that's good for them. And dualies were, again, also a weapon that was already getting some results. It had dropped off a bit towards the end, but I think that they were honestly fine before, and they're a little bit better now. Still lean a little bit more supportive, but this weapon can still be pretty aggressive at times. So I could see it being paired with another more aggressive support like Dually or Mini. Milky Way did do the Dually Mini, or sorry, yeah, Dually Mini thing, so doesn't surprise me. Undercover and Normal Umbrella both fall under support, honestly. I don't know if I'd consider Recycle short range. It's kind of hard to debate that. But Recycle does benefit from the changes for sure. It's a little bit more consistent with its damage as well. Though I don't really know if Recycle would be something we'll be seeing without further buffs, just because it's so difficult. But I do think it's a candidate that benefits here. Luna Blaster has been talked about a lot because it now has its old S1 blast radius back. Assuming the targets are in human form, you know, so little asterisk to it, but you can see right here that Luna is pretty damn forgiving at this point. I mean, this blast radius just looks insane. And again, I know with squid form it's a little bit different, but like, look at that! I did not think we'd be seeing Luna with a blast radius like this again. All the S1 weapons are really back to their former glory, outside of a little bit over-nerfed range and, well, poor H3, just kind of sitting on the sidelines right now. But yeah, I mean, Luna's hammer kit is very interesting right now. It is a pretty cheap hammer. I could even see it being 170 in the future, which I think would be a good change for it if they decide to do that. And Luna's another option where, like with Tri, I think it'd be good into other short-range comps, since it's so good at dealing with short-range weapons right now. But it is very tricky to use Luna on a lot of the maps. That said, I could see Luna Neo getting something. Like, this weapon's a lot better than people give it credit for. I think both this and Normal Blast have been overshadowed by S-Blast. And while they're still worse, I think if you're fighting short-range, they have arguments that they're better. Speaking of which, I mean, V-Blast is pretty insane right now. It is very fast. The blast radius is a little bit larger, and it's like another main short-range check with a very powerful kit. This is like with Tri-Slosher 1, where I don't even think there really needs to be much of a debate. I think we're going to see some V-Blast. I would be very surprised if we see nothing but S-Blast with the changes that V-Blast got. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing a bit of this weapon as well. It's also like a bit more lenient on direct. Still not as crazy like the Dapple stuff we looked at earlier, but a little bit easier to hit directs for both this and Luna are also quite notable for it. As ridiculous as Clash's new, even larger radius is, like, wow, we really need to rework this weapon, like, look at this. Yeah, I don't really see Clash seeing much use either right now, so sorry to the few Clash fans in the chat. Brushes are kind of more neutral, I think, with the overall changes. I talked about that a little bit in the main channel video if that's out at this time. It should be. But yeah, I think brushes, like, you know, mostly neutral. They lose out a little bit on the human form changes, but they should be a little more consistent in close range. But also being consistent in close range wasn't really Brush's problem. Outside of this one's been lacking a little bit. Reflux for short range, I'm still unsure. I did a whole video on the main channel about Reflux, and my opinion on it from there hasn't really changed. In theory, Reef Deco's a little bit better at helping its fighting capabilities, but I think this kit is really the main future for it. And if this kit isn't able to do well in all modes, then I don't know, I really don't know if we'll see much from Reflux. I can still see it being possible this weapon gets a breakout performance, but I consider it definitely less likely. Even with the hitbox changes slightly helping it out, it's going to be trickier to hit people in squid form. I don't know. Feels like this is still going to be a turf war weapon, sadly. And Splatanas do not have anything short range. So with all the candidates here, I think there's a few combinations to see one of these short-range Slayers paired with, you know, some of the standard short-range supports. I think that's something that we could end up seeing a good bit with a good amount of these pairings that, you know, is totally possible. I feel like it's a lot easier to run something like Vanilla Blast instead of S-Blast and kind of play to more short-range power and see how it works out. So I'm personally a little bit curious to see how that will go, honestly. So I think it'll be helpful, for sure. That said, I think that you're going to need at least one midline or your comp is going to hurt a little bit. Even with these changes, if two of your weapons don't have tools to deal with mid to long range weapons, I think it's still going to be a problem. I don't think we're going to be seeing like triple short range or like two short range supports outside of like Dually Pro that are kind of half and half as like any kind of staple options. I think it's much more likely that teams will mix in something that they feel more comfortable with, like 52, Roller, Blaster, you know, options like that into their compositions, and it will just be kind of a gap closer. Whereas before, I think that you legitimately would have situations where you have to switch off the double short range. Now it's like, I think you can stay double short range if the rest of your comp is built around it. And again, assuming one of them is a more kill-focused short range weapon, which is obviously something I'm a fan of. I don't really think double support should be that strong. I don't think it would fit well in this game. So I like the idea that, like, while other short range is better, it has to be that kind of weapon. And like I talked about in the hitboxes video, check it out, it's a few days old on this channel. I do also think that the solution to dealing with short range comps might also be picking short range. So if you're playing like double midline and you're fighting double midline, it's kind of normal. But if you fight like a really annoying double short range comp, I think like running one of your weapons as like a V-Blast or a Try or a Roller or some weapon that specializes in dealing with short-range weapons is going to be more important. So I think that's kind of the main shift where, like, if you're a team comp with an S-Blast, having your S-Blast be capable to flex to V-Blaster to deal with short range might be more important. So I think what this patch has done is it's closed the gap. I do still think double midline is overall stronger. Not sure exactly which comps, but I'm sure it won't be too different from what we have right now. But I think it is much easier to run double short range, assuming you still have enough fighting power on your comp. So I think it will definitely open up comp building a bit. I think it will be a little bit less linear, and that there will be more choices. And that makes me very excited, because there is still a lot of cool short-range weapons that kind of like fight, and I want to see more of those options. So yeah, overall, I'm very excited for these changes. Thanks so much for watching. Alright, Delta was in last.